All right, let's get into this discussion now. Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana is set to deliver a third budget speech on the 21st of May following political debates surrounding VAT increases and the need for fiscal responsibility in South Africa. Matshidiso Lencoasa, budget analyst at Section 27, joins us now. Matshidiso, thank you so much for your time. In just a week's time, the minister will then be delivering his third budget speech after those two attempts that have essentially failed. What are your expectations as Section 27?
Good afternoon, and thank you very much for the opportunity to engage on this. So, yes, it is the third iteration of the budget, and it is likely that the minister is trying to get the budget over the line because, any alternatives to that, a budget that isn't passed or isn't possible, will cause further chaos in terms of our country and also politically may weaken him. And so for us, we do see in interest, especially politically, to try and get a budget that's possible. But our concern is to ensure that a possible budget is not done at the expense of what is needed for people in this country. It shouldn't be a contestation of that, but rather should be foregrounded in the needs of our people. This is a real opportunity for the finance minister. The way that this has all unfolded has been probably devastating for him, but it has been an opportunity to create a budget that is better informed, and he can make better informed decisions around how budget decisions and budget policy impacts people in this country. And so we're really hoping that he's heeded the call, that he continues and Treasury continues to maintain a commitment towards investing in education and healthcare services and not put them at the back burner just because the deplorable VAT increase has been scrapped. We're really hoping for a budget that really works for people in this country.
And how concerned are you? I mean, we know, of course, that the minister has met with MECs in the provinces, because the concern here is at provincial level too, in terms of what are provinces doing in the interim. And of concern is some of the indications that you've highlighted, your health services, your education structures. Section 27 obviously also campaigning around, just the lack of budgeting around health infrastructure as well as resourcing. At provincial level, what are you seeing?
Sure. So you're absolutely right that at a provincial level, there are deep concerns. It doesn't actually even matter whether the provinces are traditionally wealthier provinces like urban provinces like Gauteng and the Western Cape, or rural provinces like Eastern Cape and KwaZulu-Natal. One thing that all the provinces are united and can agree upon is that budget cuts and limited constrained resource availability have been constraining the quality of public services that has been delivered to people in those provinces. So we saw last year the reduction in the number of teachers across the country in the Western Cape, notably, and that has meant that there have been increasing cases of overcrowding, especially in marginalized or impoverished and underserved communities and schools there. Healthcare, Gauteng Health is under a lot of fire, a lot of concerns around budget processes around there. There have been reports around hospitals that are poor and clinics that are poorly resourced, of doctors not getting paid on time, and then also doctors that are not being absorbed into the public healthcare sector, in addition to the nurses and community health workers. So currently the situation in the provinces is not ideal. It is really undermining the constitutional right to basic education and healthcare, but really Budget 3.0 is an opportunity to correct that. Yes, it may not be a silver bullet, and there are historical challenges in those in provinces, in different provinces, but perhaps this budget could position our public sector to start thinking about how do we build a public sector that works for people in our country, rather than a site of contestation, which is what we've seen this year. So we are definitely concerned at what's happening in the provinces, but we are hopeful that with all the budget discourse that has happened this year, that National Treasury and the Finance Minister are able to make better informed decisions, especially engaging with the MECs in the various provinces, in making better informed decisions that really serve people in our country.
Matshidiso, as we wrap our conversation, of course, the finance minister has also ruled out introducing wealth tax, saying that it will, contribute to capital flights. I mean, you have, as Section 27, have always maintained moments like this, particularly when we're going now to Budget 3.0, as it's been tagged. Moments like this reflect the necessity to prioritize progressive revenue generation. Can you expand on that?
Definitely. So as part of the Budget Justice Coalition, we've actually been for years analyzing or studying ways to fill the gaps or to generate revenue in a way that doesn't further burden people in this country, but in a way that actually works towards investment in and building a public sector and an economy that works for all. Wealth tax, is one example that has been pushed by many in our society and has been rejected by the finance ministers as well as the SARS commissioner. But there are so many other alternatives. We could be looking at inefficiencies that are in the system. There are examples of incentives to create jobs that were given towards corporates. And when you look at the employment statistics that we saw yesterday that were just so depressing, it is very clear that these incentives are not working. Can we reprioritize that funding towards, and finding a leverage point that actually builds our economy? Other examples that we've used, that we've looked at, is strengthening our tax collection system. So overcoming tax-based erosion, overcoming tax evasion, so that we can actually tap into that up to 800 billion that the SARS commissioner said is outstanding or could be taxed, so that we can actually build a healthcare and an education system that works in our country. So there are definitely alternatives, and we're hoping that the finance minister will really look into those.
Absolutely. Matshidiso Lencoasa, thank you so much. Budget analyst at Section 27. Of course, Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana is set to deliver that third budget speech on the 21st of May. All right, so let's take you now back to Vleerhof. That's where, of course, police are briefing the media following the discovery of the body of an 11-year-old boy who went missing yesterday in Vleerhof. Of course, we heard from our reporter, Calvin Ludla, who is on the scene for us, speaking there to various people, including family members, of course, telling him that the boy had been dropped off from school at one of the complexes in Vleerhof, and that's where he was last seen. Interviews have since followed with the security guards as well as those that had last seen him. According to the reports, the child went to school yesterday but didn't return home. However, security guards say they saw the boy being dropped off by his transport. A gruesome find by the family, also not knowing, of course, where the police investigations is at this particular stage. But we'll take you there as soon as that briefing does begin in Vleerhof. In fact, I think we're trying to establish that sound. I am of the view that it has started, and as soon as we establish that sound, we'll definitely be trying to listen in.